Thank you very much.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Hopefully everybody's having a good, what's today, Tuesday? A good Tuesday so far. Today I will be talking to you about the new REV Control HUB. Oh wait, let me switch my screen. So, I'm guessing most of you already know what the REV Expansion Hub is. But today we're going to be talking about the REV Control HUB. The REV Control HUB is basically an expansion hub with a built-in Android controller. Android Studios users can now connect to it using ADB, which stands for Android Debug Bridge, by either a USB cable, USB-C, or wireless ADB. The Control Hub now has, I would say, 4 new features, or which, whoops, let me switch that. Has 4 new features and new inputs. So originally, you still had your same, where is it? You still had your same power input, your 4 motor controllers, your 6 servo controllers, and your your sensor inputs. Now on the back, where you used to have on the expansion hub just the mini USB, you now have a USB 2.0, a USB 3.0, USB-C to connect to your computer, HDMI, and a micro SD card. So, one of the best new features about the Control Hub is now you only need to use one cell phone. Originally, you had 2 cell phones, one for driver station and one for the robot controller that would stay on the phone. Now you only have one phone, just the driver station that comes with the Control Hub pre-installed already on the app, already on the phone. The app already pre-installed in the phone. You still have the same materials. You still have your FTC approved 12-volt battery. You still have your Android phone, your approved gaming controller, and your USB female adapter. So there was already a reset button for the expansion hub, but now there's a new feature added to the reset button for the Control Hub. When you first get your Control Hub, you have to set it up by connecting to it via your phone already, yeah. And then you have to add a new password and change the network setting. So when you first turn on your Control Hub, you have to plug it in and wait for 5 to 10 seconds for your light to become solid green before you can fully connect to your Control Hub. Once. You still have the same kind of configurations as you would for the expansion hub, but one of the best new features now is that originally, if you wanted to use the Vuforia to use your camera, you had to use the camera that came that was pre-installed on the robot controller phone. Now that you have the USB 2.0 and 3.0 ports, you can now connect a wired camera. The robot controller app has built-in collaboration information for a variety of commonly available webcams. Users can also create their own custom collaboration files and then upload these files to a Control Hub. Now you might be thinking, can we still use the camera on the old robot controller phone and use a camera for a wired camera to connect to? The answer is no, because it just won't let you. So, real fast, I will show you a video. This is from the FTC Tech Talk about the Control Hub, to give you a few more information, to give you a little bit more information before I go into it a little bit more. I hope everybody can hear it.
Hey, First Tech Challenge. This is Ken Johnson, and this is another edition of Tech Talk. I'm really happy to be here today to talk about a new device that we're going to make legal in the upcoming season and start offering through the First Tech Challenge storefront, starting with Jumpstart this coming month, January of 2020. That device is the Control Hub. Now, you might have heard about the Control Hub. We've been pilot testing it this year with about 250 teams in North America, as well as Romania and UK. The Control Hub looks very similar to the current Expansion Hub. You'll notice almost exact same size, the same number of motor outputs, servo outputs, and sensor input-output. The Expansion Hub on the robot is connected to an Android handset. The Control Hub takes the functionality of the Expansion Hub and the Android handset and combines it into a single device. What does that mean for teams? Well, one of the advantages is a little bit smaller footprint taken up on the robot. There's also one less electronic connection, and that's always better in terms of electrostatic discharge and things of that sort. The other item that's really interesting that I'll talk about is the ability to use a camera. Typically, teams are using a camera off of the Android handset. The new Control Hub allows teams to use a USB-connected camera, and I'll show you those details in just a second. This has been the control system for FTC Robotics over the last several years. All of the functionality that I just mentioned is also now going to be available through the new Control Hub. You'll notice the same connectors for the 4 DC motors and encoders here, servos here, and sensor I/O there. But there is no connection to an Android handset. All that Android capability is built into the Control Hub. What if you're using TensorFlow or Vuforia and you need that camera interface? Well, the Control Hub allows teams to plug in a USB camera right into the back. That USB camera will perform the same types of functions that you are getting out of the Android handset, but perhaps gives you a little bit more flexibility on where you might want to mount your camera. Programming can be done wirelessly or through a USB cable connected directly from the Control Hub to your PC. The Control Hub operates at both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. What about the Expansion Hubs? Well, there's going to be many teams that will continue to use the Android handset and Expansion Hub successfully. Teams that move to the Control Hub and want more than 4 DC motors or 6 servos can daisy chain the current Expansion Hubs to the Control Hub for that purpose. So that's the summary of the features of the new Control Hub. And remember, if you're using the Expansion Hub and the Android handset, you can continue to use that. This is just another option for teams to be able to take up a little bit less real estate on their robot and get them a little bit more design flexibility. This will be the standard offering that we'll have available in the storefront. And as I mentioned, when we open up the storefront for Jumpstart rookie teams, they'll be able to have access to this. So please, tell your friends and others to get involved in First Tech Challenge. Not just for the Control Hub, but for all the wonderful things that you've already experienced with it. We need to grow, and we need your help to do that. Thanks a lot.
Okay, so far, do we have any questions, James, in the chat?
No, we don't see. I did one just show up. I have this from Angela. I apologize, this has already been published. But what quantity limit of Control Hub and our Expansion Hubs? In the video, they mentioned you can use them both. So I don't think there's a limit on, like, you could possibly add to Expansion Hubs, but why would you? The limit's based on you can't have more than how many motors read?
So it's still it's just like how if you want to extend 2 expansion hubs, you can have 1 control hub and up to 1 more expansion hub.
So that is the rule. It's only one. So there's either a control hub and 1 expansion hub, or the original configuration of the phone and 2 expansion hubs.
Yes.
Correct.
Does anybody else have any quick questions that they would like to ask before I move on to on resources on where you can find more information? Take that as a no. Okay. So if you would like more information, there is the FTC forum specifically for the control hub. People have already been asking information. Now the control hub, we're not entirely switching from the expansion hub to the control hub. What we are doing is we are now allowing the control hub to be legal for the 2020-2021 season is when it be fully released and allowed to be used during gameplay. As he said in the video, it was released for Jumpstart in January for a few number of teams around the country, but we are now fully releasing it worldwide. So now on pricing, James, do you still have that link up for pricing?
Yes, I do. Do you want me to, is it okay I take over the screen for a moment?
Yes.
And I'm on my new, not where I wanted to be. This is where I want to be. So I always like to bring up how you search things. Just go to Google and put it in. What you'll first get is the REV Control Robotics page. As of right now, this is the only place that we see it for sale, other than it's also available through some educational packs, but you have to buy entire educational robot packages to get it included. If you have that opportunity, I recommend it. It looked like it was a pretty good deal. Otherwise, it's only here available at REV Robotics for $300. I assume there will be a decent discount when these come available to the teams. But as right now, it's not available through the storefront, not for my teams. And they don't suggest here that you can put in this price, which is considerably higher. On my storefront, currently the expansion hub is $129. And that and the $50 phone is definitely cheaper than this. I will emphasize the importance of no longer having that USB cable, though, is making this worth it. I was surprised in the video, he said electrostatic disturbances, etc. It's basically just how poor that USB connection between the expansion hub and the phone. Removing that will remove a lot of problems that I see when working in events. And I'm really happy to see this device to put in my 2 cents worth. So that's, and otherwise, you had asked them and they said they hadn't established the pricing for the online through the store?
They have not. When we contacted headquarters, they said the material pricing for the 2020-2021 season has not been established at this time. We will have this information available when registration opens in mid-May.
It definitely is more costly to go with this. From my perspective, I definitely see the advantages of it, but maybe in this first season, its availability, in addition to that extra cost, might be prohibitive to many teams. But I think both me and Reed will mostly see it as a priority to help teams move to this sort of platform.
Yes.
Do you mind, Reed? I'll go. You had started to show the forum.
Yes.
I do want to. I actually stopped and read this morning, and want to re-encourage you. I mean, that's how you search. You find these things. This link is actually also included under the team resources page under robot building resources, it's also found. I'm just pointing this out to show that the team resources page has a lot of good links, including this one. But in reading it, he had mentioned the webcam, and apparently with one of the versions of software, the external webcam is not working. I don't know, it wasn't working as of October. They haven't updated that. I should have looked at the date. But I guess I want to encourage to get people to go ahead and if they get the Control Hub, to start asking the questions here again and get them to update these items. I'm sure they fixed this issue by now. And as I go through most of the issues they listed, they have either fixed or the issue wasn't as described, but it's still a good place to find out where, if you're having troubles, why you're having troubles. So back to you, Reed.
Okay. So
Oh,
take over
no. Yeah, that's how I do it.
So what I also wanted to show was inside of the team resources, if it'll let me go. You can also scroll all the way down to the Control Hub pilot program. It'll bring you to the checklist directly for field inspection, or if you have any other questions regarding where and who can use the Control Hub, that's another good place to go. I also wanted to mention for the expansion hubs with the phones, you would use Wi-Fi Direct. We're still using Wi-Fi Direct, but it's just that now when you connect to the phones, you when you connect the Control Hub to the phone, you're connecting directly to the Control Hub instead of pairing it through the Wi-Fi Direct. You do so through the, as I was sharing already, pause. You would go to your settings, go to configure, and you would change your pairing from Wi-Fi Direct directly to Control Hub. So that way you have less of that signal disturbance, but now that you only have one phone, you also don't have that connection disturbance, as James was saying, from the USB Mini. Before we end, does anybody else have any other questions, any concerns, any thought bubbles that they would like answered?
Maybe I missed. I know yesterday something was mentioned about one of the advantages being the connection of that extra phone and that wire coming loose a little too easily sometimes, and that this will help prevent that.
Sorry, can you repeat that, please?
I think yesterday something was mentioned about when you're connecting the two phones, that the connection seemed to be a bigger problem sometimes and cause some data loss, and so this kind of helps prevent that.
Yes.
Yeah, no, go ahead, Reed.
This helps prevent that because, well, actually, I think James would be a better person to explain.
No, how many times that I've had teams come up to me, and they were even thinking it was Wi-Fi interference or whatnot. When we sit down and you work it, it was simply a matter of that connection of the USB mini connection into the expansion hub. We all know from charging our phones how much trouble that the USB connection can be. A little bit of dirt and you're not even passing power. Well, if they're just not perfectly aligned, you have a communication problem. And so to eliminate that between your actual robot brain and the rest of what the expansion hub does as a controller panel is a very good, a definitive advantage, a definitive improvement. I think that was the question that was being asked. I also note that in that forum, another thing that was brought up, and that's so many times, everyone said, well, it's the Wi-Fi interference, that's why my teleop's not working. And a couple of the other points in that forum, and it goes back again and again, is that it's usually not Wi-Fi interference. It certainly isn't because of the number of robots and whatnot, although at a place like Worlds, when I was the Wi-Fi police, it's a lot of robots that are running, but it's usually something like that wire connection there, and that connection to another REV hub is mentioned in the forum as causing a delay between the time when the operator would put an input in on the controller and the robot would respond. So those wire connections are usually your communication problem, not the Wi-Fi. I do point out that in that forum, that the forum had suggested to make sure that there are no Wi-Fi suppression systems at your school. So if there's any tournament directors, I'd like to, just to suddenly, a bit off topic, but certain, is to make sure that from last year to this year, your school hasn't installed Wi-Fi suppression, because that definitely will interfere with the robotics, our ability to control our robots. Back to you, Steve.
I agree. Sorry. So I do agree with you. So let me think. I believe we've hit all of the main points. Just a second, please.
I did also post a link to the REV's official video on how to start guide. It's an excellent resource as well. It's really easy to find that link. Simply ask for the REV Control HUB start guide video, and you'll get the REV either directly through YouTube or through REV's website. And it also it's somewhat longer than the one with Ken Johnson, but it's fairly short, concise, and will show the use of the computer talking to the Control HUB as well.
I also wanted to say there was a new feature that I like with the Control HUB. In the app now, it also tracks your team, your match number during your competition. So by going to your settings, you can set it so that way, I don't know if you can read it really. I'll just read it for you. It says you have a match logging, so you can now take your match schedule, put it on an SD card to put into the back of your Control HUB, and then now you can keep track of your match schedule, so that way when you go to your match, you know where you're at. It's just the little things that like to be nice and helpful.
It looks like a new feature in the latest version of the app. If you I want to encourage those that are watching with us to ask any questions. Don't hesitate. There's only that question that's unasked that's not the good one. Ask it and it'll be a good one.
No
yeah, I said that wrong, didn't I? But also, if there's any other topics you wish to discuss in future reference, we have 5 to 15 minutes left on this one. Even if it's sort of off topic, this is a good opportunity to touch base if you have any other issues with your robot builds, your teams, etc.
Now, I think a good reason to get the Control HUB is one, you don't have to have a phone holder for your robot, for your robot controller. So that way, now that's more space that you have on your robot. Now you can have your Control HUB, which now you don't have that connection issue going from your phone to your controller. So that's another thing that's taken away. And now you have more space to put more pieces on your robot, because now you don't have to worry about where to put my phone. It's so nice and handy.
That phone location was a painful thing. I think one of the previous questions asked on a previous call was, could you still use your phone? It's video, and
yes, you can use it as a backup phone or as a backup camera, but it more prefers you to use a wired webcam, to use a USB webcam, but it can still run off using the camera off the phone.
And another previous question that was asked was, did you need additional battery for that USB camera? And the answer is no. It's powered through the universal serial bus that is USB. And in the video that Ken just showed you, you can see that it's pretty much just a camera with a wire, and it plugs into the Control HUB.
Oh, I forgot to mention something very important. So for those who are very well versed in Android Studios, the Control Hub is more is more adaptable and more useful for Android Studios than for OnBot Java or for blocks, because now that you have the new ADB debugging, it's easier now to connect to your phones and to download and write your code. And because now that you have the wireless ADB debugging, you can keep your Control Hub wirelessly connected to your computer, and you can now download your code wirelessly while also giving you your errors. Because with OnBot Java, you can write your code, it'll give you your errors in blocks, but it wouldn't give you your errors if you were writing in Java. You have to download and then see why isn't it working. So now it does that automatically for you, which I think is a cool feature.
Hi, this is Angela, and do you guys know for certain that there may be a discount in the for the Control Hub? Because I'm trying to see about either buying it now or waiting until maybe May.
So I do know that Jumpstart, the teams that were part of Jumpstart, they paid $175 to get and test out their control hubs. But when I asked First Headquarters, all they said was they hadn't decided on a price yet.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You can't go back and can you still see a storefront for a Jumpstart team, Reed? I didn't Jumpstart any this year, so.
Only if you're a Jumpstart rookie.
Yeah, I think that, so it can't.
Well, Brian.
Okay, well, if there's no other questions, I want to thank you all for coming on, and thank you for noticing that I sent out the email saying this was at 10:30 a.m. and not p.m. like the first email said. We had some prior commitments for this afternoon, so starting next week, your sessions will be at either 2:30 or 3:30. So hopefully that'll allow more of the coaches, students, and everybody to participate. And I will send out the link for that probably midweek. So look for that. It'll be on the engineering notebook. And one thing that he will mention on that is, since, Worlds is canceled, technically the season's over. So participating in things like this, start your new notebook for the 2020-2021 season. So this kind of information can go in there that you're participating in this. And if you have any topics that you would like us to discuss over the next 6 weeks, feel free to send me an email, and I will put it out there to Reed and James and let them see if they want to touch base on it. So with that, I want to thank you all for joining us, and we will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Mom, log off. We're waiting for you to.
I think she can stay on. Interesting how that still works.